Good morning guys. Q4 so far has been an absolute disaster. There's no preamble today, there's no chit chat because I have got so much to do and so much to think about and so much to worry about at the moment that I've just got to straighten you up slightly and get on with it. But what I will do first of all is just paint a picture for you. So as you'll know, if you've been following me for a while, if you haven't, there's a massive playlist of vlogs that you can go through to get to know me. Reselling is still my biggest chunk of income every year. I usually make at least £8,000 a year. That's probably, let me check what that is in dollars. So that's nearly, it's just under $10,000. That's normally like my biggest chunk of income. And then I normally get up to about 11, 12,000 with other bits and pieces kind of topping that up. Sometimes I get more than the 8,000, but yeah, it's usually that. It's not going well this year. I've spoken about it before. I don't want to go over old ground of me just decimating my stock and thinking that that was a great thing to do and just neglecting it over the summer and all of that stuff. What's really concerning me at the moment, I think, are two things. The first thing being the sales just aren't coming in on eBay unless I promote to a really high percentage. We're looking at least 10%, and even then sometimes that's not working. In order to get a really good flow of sales in, which I did for a period of time in September, I ended up having to promote, I think I went for their suggested rate, but I kind of capped it at like 12 point something%. By the time you take the promoted listing fees in, the fact that I'm sending out offers, the regular fees on top of it, transaction fees, everything else, the VAT that you pay on top of all of that, really has cut into the profit that I'm making as well. And I'm not getting enough in necessarily to reinvest properly in keeping that kind of stock level up. The other problem is that I've kind of added loads of fresh stock, like a chunk of fresh stock this month, and it's not really making any difference. I normally, with eBay at least, can usually list my way out of any problems that I have with it. But so far that doesn't seem to be working. Now, on the other kind of flip side of the coin is that I still don't have the number of listings that I used to kind of run at. For a very long period of time, I was always somewhere between about 700 and 850, and that definitely used to, you know, pay me enough to live on. Then just before I completely tore it all down at the beginning of the summer, I was functioning quite well on about 500 or so listings, 550 listings, because I think I had got to the point where I was sort of like shedding all of the, not necessarily low value stock, but just things that had been hanging around for a while. And I was kind of staying on top of doing that a lot more than I had done in the past. So I was getting almost the same amount from about 300 kind of less listings. And that was quite good. And I don't know why I changed that, because I'm a fool, I'm an idiot. But there's no telling whether, had I not done what I did, there's no telling whether the way things were would have continued. Do you see what I mean? Like, this problem that's arisen, or problems that have arisen with the reselling income, might have happened anyway. So yeah, so I've got all sorts of things spinning around in my head. Now then, just to let you know how diabolical this all is. This is like gross sales. I'm 7% down on the same time last month. My net sales are down 17%, and that's because of testing out higher promoted listing fees just to get some sales in. I am 40% down on sales from this time last year, and 50% down on net sales, again because for the whole of this year I've kind of increased the promoted listings percentage that I've been using. Like, I cannot seem to get a jewellery store to run properly anymore without the promoted listings. I think the category itself has become, I'm not going to say oversaturated, because, you know, I'm still just about in profit every month, and definitely if I had more listings it would become more viable again, but it's definitely, I don't even want to say saturated, it's an overcrowded market, I would say. overcrowded. So yeah, so that is not a pretty picture. When I tell you that my net sales so far this month, so this is after fees and after postage, £387. £387. I've spent about 250 on stock, which admittedly the only way I could do that was to take some money out of a savings account to kind of invest in my business in a sort of desperate bid to make things better and improve things. So that's eBay. And then Etsy. My net profit on Etsy for this month, again after fees and after postage, is £181.78. Last month it was £248. I'm down on last month on Etsy. In a nutshell, my reselling income stream is not going well at all, and today is Monday. It's now 9:45, so I've spent quite a lot of time this morning. It was meant to be 15 minutes, but I think I probably ended up spending 20 to 25 minutes slightly dithering about and just tidying up the place a bit so that I can work in it, and also have sorted out piles of stuff that I'm going to be photographing and listing later. My head is spinning with just how bad things are. I am going to an extent try and list my way out of the problem. I have only got 2 more days of this month left, so nothing is going to rescue this month. Also hanging over my head is that I'm £500 behind from August as well, and I'm now, I think, something like £200 behind from this month, which leaves me with a deficit, I should say, like a deficit to myself of like 700 and something, plus the 250 that I took like borrowed from myself to try and, you know, get the business going again. Now, luckily, I have had a YouTube video take off, which is going to bring me in, I think, about £250, £300 in the next payout next month, which will go some way to kind of like getting me back on an even keel. But the thing is, my YouTube money shouldn't be like bailing out my reselling income. So I'm quite agitated at the moment, as you can probably tell, but also feeling quite fired up to fix things, or at least I would settle for improved things. I'm going to come up with not so much a plan of action for the reselling business itself, but a plan of action for today. Okay, so that was actually pretty straightforward. All I'm really doing is just making a really sort of big push on the listings today. I think because my brain is starting to panic a little bit about this whole situation, I think what I need to do is to just get stuck in and have a really focused day, doing what I would normally do, but kind of doing more of it and doing it as efficiently as possible, and not tacking on too many little like odds and sods jobs, like little bits and pieces and things like that. So the only let me run it through you. I've set myself targets in terms of listing numbers and things. So my eBay listings are currently at 313. By the end of this week, I want that to get to 350. And then my Etsy listings are currently 227, and I want that to be 250 by the end of the week, which then gives me a grand total of 600 listings across 2 platforms, which, you know, is pretty decent. And I think overall I suppose my ultimate kind of goal in terms of listing numbers is to get to maybe about 400 to 500 on each platform maximum. Let's say 400 on each, so that I've got 800 in total. And then if within the sort of the time parameters that I set for this income stream, then maybe I can increase that. But the big thing that's on my mind actually is whether this is still a viable source of income for me, just in general. If I get to having 800 listings and things don't go back to relatively normal numbers for me, then I think it might be time to get a part-time job or really ratchet up what I'm doing with my other income streams. So for example, I've got quite a lot of people have signed up and registered their interest in a couple of little mini courses that I'm going to put together about sort of just like a couple of areas of KDP that I actually know something about and I'm doing kind of okay at. I've worked out that even with me charging like quite a low amount for the first like run through of both of these little mini courses, I could still, if I sell out my number of places that I have in mind, which is somewhere between sort of 25 to 50 for each of the courses, even at that sort of low starter price, I could be making £2,500, sort of £3,000, that kind of territory, which is like 3 months or more of my income, and would cover 2 to 3 months of me sort of working on that course, those mini courses. And then if I run them a second time and there's still some interest in them, you know, that could be another few £1,000s in the bank. And then here's me putting all of this time and energy into this income stream that might not actually be the right one for me anymore, or the best one for me moving forward. So I have got some really, really big question marks over the top of my reselling income stream. It was definitely something that I kind of always knew that I would pare back at some point. I just thought that I would have control over that I would be choosing to sort of step away from it and to not wind it down completely, but to just have it take a back seat. I've said before that I'd really like the Etsy shop that has a little bit of input from my mum. I'd like to keep that going, even if it just makes £200-400 a month, and perhaps just takes me maybe a day a week at the most in order to run and sort of keep topped up and so on. That would be a really lovely thing, because then it just feels like a warm, fuzzy, friendly little project that I have on the go with my mum. I have this horrible feeling that I might get forced into doing that, possibly 6 months to a year earlier than I had planned. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe I do just need to take the leap into those other income streams that I've got and put more into them and grow them. But yeah, I don't like this sort of feeling of not being in control properly. Okay, so our jobs for today then is eBay dispatch, Etsy dispatch and Vinted dispatch. That kind of goes without saying. I haven't got many parcels to dispatch, so I'm thinking I could probably get through that in an hour. I then need to do eBay photography and Etsy photography. I've got some stuff for Etsy kind of piled up there that I will go through. I'm aiming to photograph 37 things for eBay and 23 things for Etsy. It's doable, but I don't think I've actually photographed and listed that number of items in quite a while. I think I have got quite lazy on these Mondays and inefficient. I then want to draft the eBay listings and draft the Etsy listings, and by the end of the day I would like to have at least 20 eBay listings completed and added to the shop, and then the others will the Etsy ones will probably get finished on Thursday. I might end up doing extra reselling sort of time this week just because of the state of things. But yeah, by the end of the week, I want all of those drafts finished. Okay, so I have dropped off a couple of Yodel parcels, and I've got on every parcel which I will drop off tomorrow. I've got my Royal Mail parcels to drop off at a post box on the way to the supermarket, where I'm going to pick up the tissue paper that I need for the Etsy parcels. Honestly, I feel so disorganised, and yet I am getting things done. I've photographed 33 things for eBay, and I have another pile of stuff to go through as well. So I could end up with over 50 eBay items. Let's just stop here for a minute, check that there's no one around. Looking at this crazy person talking to camera on her way to the post box. Yeah, so I did my eBay dispatch, my Vinted dispatch. Etsy dispatch couldn't do because of the tissue paper. I don't think I actually told you that, but anyway, that's why I'm going to get that. Started photographing, decided that because the lighting is really, really great today, that I'm just going to photograph as much as possible, particularly the eBay stuff, and probably just focus on eBay today. I think part of what's happening where I've got the two platforms on the go is that I'm starting to try and do everything at once, whereas I think I need to go back to Monday is pretty much or solely eBay focused, unless I've got a little bit of time at the end to tack on some Etsy stuff. But really, as Etsy is probably going to be the slightly smaller shop, certainly for the time being, that actually I should do that on a Thursday, I think. Anyway, let's go and post some stuff. I'm sorry if this is a bit noisy, like traffic noisy. I'm kind of sitting in the window at the moment, but I thought I would let you know that I have come back from my walk. I've bought tissue paper, I bought a birthday present that needed buying, and I am having, I've almost finished actually, a mug of noodles. Now it's not one of those like horrible ultra processed mugshot nasty things. This is actual noodles, which if you buy packets of, you don't need to know this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. If you buy packets of like thin, just egg noodles, or you get some amazing East Asian packets of noodles in the supermarket, if you put those in a massive mug like this, put your hot water on, and the flavourings that come in the packet, if there are any in there, if not, just add a bit of soy sauce, a bit of sesame oil, a little bit of like mirin or rice wine vinegar, something like that. So you've got like your salt and acid in there. Pour your hot water on, and then just put like a saucer or a plate. Leave it for longer than you would leave a pot noodle. So maybe leave it for like 5 minutes. And then you end up with, I would show you, but it's right at the bottom of the mug and I'm just going to end up spilling it. Then you end up with a really nice mug of lovely noodles. So I've had that, and I've also had a chicken drumstick that I pulled off the leftovers of last night's roast chicken. So that was really nice. So I'm just going to finish that off. I listened to a podcast on my way to and from the supermarket. That was someone on a motorbike being very noisy. Listened to a podcast, and it just so happened to be about, it was a business one, but it just so happened to be about when you need cash flow in your business. It said one of the first things that you need to do is manage your nervous system, because otherwise you just end up in a complete panic and you can't steer your ship when you're in a panic. And I thought about how agitated I was this morning when I first started filming, and I was listening to this and thinking, oh, that's so right. That was so me this morning. But I think two things have helped me to get my nervous system under control and not feel quite so panicky. The first one was sticking to like my usual routine in the morning, so doing quite routine, monotonous work, things that needed doing like dispatch and then the photography. That did help to soothe me, because it's work that didn't require any creativity. It's just really standard, straightforward tasks more than anything. They don't require any thinking. And then the walk itself, where I was going out to dispatch things and then, you know, going to get the tissue paper, being out and walking really helped as well. So getting the fresh air, the light, the exercise and all of that jazz, I think has really, really helped. And then also coming back in, and what I was originally going to do was to make my noodles and head upstairs and basically eat the noodles while I was carrying on with the photography and things like that. And I just thought, no, I'm going to sit downstairs. I'm going to sit somewhere different and I'm going to eat these noodles. And then when I've eaten my lunch, then I'm going to go back up and start work again. So that's where we are, folks. That's where we are. I have also had some other thoughts about things, but I'm not going to talk to you about those until we're back upstairs, because I want to keep my mind free. I might try and find a YouTube video that's about 10-15 minutes long, get my noodles finished, and then I will meet you back upstairs to do some more work. Hello again. I have photographed 68 items, which is way more than I was expecting to get done, but we've had some decent lighting, and like I said, I'm just going to focus on eBay today, and then we'll try and sort out Etsy on Thursday. It's 5 to 3, so that gives me a couple of hours to get a load of drafts done and hopefully get my 20+ listings completed. I am going to put Netflix on, I think, in the corner. I'm currently hate watching Marcella. It's just become such a hate watch as I sit there and just pick holes in it, but I kind of enjoy doing it. I'll be watching it and all of a sudden there'll be oh, for sake, this is ridiculous. It's so bad. It's just the writing is terrible. It's so full of cliche. Oh, do you know what? I'm not going to get started on it. I'm just going to put it on. I've watched the first 2 series. I'm now going to watch series 3. Be entertained by how bad it is, because sometimes that's just as great as being entertained by something that's brilliant. And also, if you don't watch the things that aren't very good, then you can't appreciate the stuff that's fantastic to quite the same degree. That's my excuse. I will put that on and I will pop on again just before I completely down tools for the day and let you know how I get on. So here we are at the end of the day and it's dark outside. It is 20 to 5 and I'm still going to do probably another 20 minutes work. I've just realised I haven't noted everything down that I wanted to note down to tell you about, but I can tell you that I've finished 53 drafts and they were all using the multi-listing option, and then the other items where I've just got like one of something or like a few of something, I'll probably just do sell similar for those. And out of those 53 drafts, I think I was on, what did I say? Should I write it down? I did write it down, didn't I? Somewhere. 313 and I'm now on 325. So I've completed 12 of the drafts and I'm just going to sit and complete a few more of them, so I'll probably have done the 20 minimum by the time I go downstairs and start sorting out the dinner. I think because I've kind of got to get on top of this, haven't I, and my first plan of action is the one that I usually have, like I said, which is to list my way out of the hole, out of the problem. I'm going to continue finishing those drafts off, well, probably not all of them, but a lot of them off this evening with a bit of telly in the background, and yeah, hopefully get somewhere with that. Also, what I was thinking is maybe I could vlog all week and keep you guys updated with how things are going. I'm not promising that. I could wake up tomorrow morning and think, oh my god, no. Because, you know, sometimes I really do need to be in the right mood to vlog. And then the other thing that I've got to consider is that vlogging can often take up a little bit too much time and all the things I'm doing get slowed down. I do think it could be quite interesting just to see if the things that I'm doing actually make any difference. It's Marcella in the background. Honestly, series 3, I've got no idea what's going on really, but that's probably for the best. But yeah, today has been okay. I've definitely settled down since listening to the podcast and since going for that walk and everything. And I think I mentioned earlier, I've got all sorts of ideas and I'm starting to kind of pull those together, but I'm not ready to talk about them yet. I think I will talk about them tomorrow if I vlog. So thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and I will see you again in the next vlog, whenever that happens to be.